Welcome into OutKick the show. I'm your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having fantastic Thursdays wherever you may be across the country. Little bit of housekeeping. I will not be here with you on OutKick the show again until March the 17th. That is the Monday after the NCAA tournament is set. Kids are on spring break. I am going to be all over the place between now and the 17th, but I'll do Clay and Buck tomorrow, and then I am done with shows until the 17th. By the way, I'm in the process of writing a new book. Got to finish it by the end of March, and that's taken up a lot of my time as well. Want to tell you, Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with Prize Picks. You against the number. Prize Picks, NCAA tournament, NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey, NASCAR, all of it. You can pick your choices. Just pick which player is going to do more or less. Takes as little as 60 seconds, and you can win a bundle, including sometimes just by playing the picks that we gave out. Last night, we won. All 4 of our picks hit, and they hit by halftime of the Tennessee Ole Miss game. I'll talk a little bit more about seeding in a moment. But you can win a bundle with Prize Picks. You can play in California. You can play in Texas. You can play in Georgia. Use code OutKick. You get $50 when you play your first $5. Again, that is code OutKick. When you play your first $5, you will get $50. Download the app today. Use that code OutKick to get $50 when you play $5. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, let's run some games here. Interesting. Charlie Kirk, friend of mine, sat down for an interview with Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom was asked about what he thought about men competing in women's sports. So far, to my knowledge, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I think only one Democrat, Congressman Seth Moulton of Massachusetts, has come out straightforwardly and said, what Congressman Moulton said was, hey, I've got 2 daughters. This is crazy. This is an issue that the Democrats have to get more sane on. Instead, every single Democrat this week voted in favor of men being able to compete in women's sports. Gavin Newsom has got a new podcast. He wanted to have Charlie Kirk on to have a conversation with. I think Gavin Newsom is certainly going to run for president in 2028. And to his credit, Charlie Kirk asked Gavin Newsom straight up, why are you in favor of men being able to compete in women's sports? Isn't it patently unfair? Here was the answer.
It's like you right now should come out and be like, you know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports, right. that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate
but like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that. There's also a humility and a grace, that these poor people are more likely to commit suicide, have anxiety and depression. And the way that people talk down to vulnerable communities is an issue that I have a hard time with as well. So both things I can hold in my hand. How can we address this issue with the kind of decency that I think, is inherent in you, but not always expressed?
Okay, so this has now ricocheted everywhere. Lead story on the New York Times is Newsom's, one of the lead stories, Newsom splits with Democrats on transgender athletes, quote, it's deeply unfair. And here's the subheading. This was up on the New York Times just a few minutes ago. The remarks by Governor Gavin Newsom of California, a potential White House hopeful, were an extraordinary break from fellow Democrats and signaled a newly defensive position on the issue. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Actually, Gavin Newsom didn't take that aggressive of a position. He tried to both sides it, if you actually listen to him. And I give Charlie Kirk credit for asking the question, but really what needs to be asked, and I sent out a tweet saying this, is do you support men who identify as women being able to play women's sports? Yes or no? There is no complicated tap dancing here. It's a yes or no question. And Gavin Newsom didn't answer that because I believe in the clip that you all saw, Gavin Newsom then said, well, I feel bad because you got deeply mentally disturbed people who may commit suicide over this issue or have major mental health issues. So he said it was unfair, which it clearly is, but he didn't say he didn't support it. And so there now is a Democrat civil war that is breaking out over this issue, even though I would suggest Gavin Newsom didn't actually say what everybody is saying he said. And I can't believe I'm defending Gavin Newsom on this, but when you hear this next question, this is House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. He is asked a question by a reporter that is premised on something that Gavin Newsom did not actually say directly. See if you can pick up on this. Regardless, Hakeem Jeffries' answer is a unmitigated disaster. Let me play that for all of you. This was a little bit earlier, too, as Democrats try to grapple with the existential question of the day. Should men, that is, chicks with dicks, be able, chicks, to win women's championships or not? Here is Hakeem Jeffries. I would submit to you, let me say before we play the Hakeem Jeffries, clip this, make sure we share all this, but every man, black, white, Asian, and Hispanic, that has ever played a sport after puberty, that is high school age or college age, knows that men who have gone through puberty competing against women is total bullshit, okay? It shouldn't exist anywhere. Every single one, white, black, Asian, and Hispanic, every man post-puberty, high school or college, that competed in athletics knows this is complete and total bullshit. Every single one. The Democrat Party has decided that they have to be willing to claim that this is not an issue. They have to claim that we don't know if men who identify as women are actually different. And let me say this. I don't have a problem, and I bet most of you are with me here, I don't have a problem with girls playing on boys' teams if they can actually make it really. I don't have a problem with pre-puberty. For sure, girls playing baseball or basketball. I have coached teams, pre-puberty, boys' teams, that have girls on them. Basketball, baseball. I've said this before. My 10U team, the best player on our team was a girl. She was the hardest thrower. She could hit the ball further. She was a beast. Now that the kids that were at that age, 14 or 15 years old, I would bet, now that they've gone through puberty, that's not the case anymore. But I, even back in the 80s, played on a team with a girl. Sometimes there weren't softball teams. Sometimes the girls want to be challenged. No problem with it. This is rational, reasonable, normal man stuff, right? One reason the Democrat Party is hemorrhaging male voters is because they pick dudes like Tim Walz, who are what a middle-aged lesbian would pick because they think that's a man who's going to appeal to other men. Tim Walz is the definition of a lesbian's pick of a man that they think is going to appeal to other men. That's basically the Democrat Party. Here is Hakeem Jeffries, freezing, having no idea. This is truly an awful answer to a question that he knows the answer to, but that he doesn't feel like he can answer honestly. Listen.
I want to ask about California Governor Gavin Newsom's comments saying that Democrats were in the wrong for allowing transgender athletes to compete in female and girls sports. What is your response to that after Democrats had opposed the women and girls in sports?
I haven't seen his comments. What Democrats opposed was unleashing sexual predators on girls throughout the United States of America.
All right, he's lying to you. This is why, by the way, I haven't gotten in politics. I'm not willing to lie about what I really think. I don't care enough whether you agree or disagree with me that I would be willing to lie to you as blatantly as Hakeem Jeffries just lied. My goal is to try to vote for people who lie the least. I get it. Politicians, by their nature, try to be oleaginous. They try to be sneaky like Gavin Newsom was, where he's like, on the one hand, it's completely unfair. On the other hand, somebody might kill themselves. So it's a real conversation we need to have. Why don't you just tell me what you think, right? I'm pretty clear. Nobody's like, oh, you know who really tiptoes up to his opinion? Clay Travis. There's a lot of things I believe that you may disagree with. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me when people grab my opinions and they're like, can you believe Clay? So what? What do I care? Yeah, it's my opinion. Deal with it. Hakeem Jeffries knows that what he just said is a total bullshit answer. He doesn't believe it. Gavin Newsom played, I think, Adam, you can look this up. I believe Gavin Newsom was a college baseball player. He knows this is bullshit. Any man who has played high school sports or college sports for sure knows that the idea of a man being able to identify as a woman and compete in women's athletics is ridiculous. Most women know this. Every man knows it. Everyone who has ever played athletics. Men are bigger, stronger, faster than women. The most talented woman in America in basketball couldn't start on a good high school boys state champion team. She couldn't. She would get wrecked. She may be able to sit on the end of the bench. That's the reality. Do you remember when I offered $1 million to the Las Vegas Aces, then the WNBA champion, to play against a state high school boys championship team of my choice? I said, I will give you $1 million, my own money, to the team that wins this game. They wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. I risked it. I said, you put up $1 million, Las Vegas Aces. I'll put up $1 million. If I'm wrong, you'll get $1 million. Your WNBA team will make more money playing one game against high school basketball boys than you make playing for the entire season. I said, I don't even want the $1 million. I will give the $1 million that my boys team will win to the boys. I'll put up $1 million. If you win, you get $1 million of my money. If you lose, your $1 million goes to the boys. I'll put it on pay-per-view. I bet we could make this game worth $25 million. It would be the most lucrative and watched women's basketball game, I believe, in the history of women's basketball. And we might even be able to beat the Jordan-era Bulls record of 35 million viewers. It could end up being the most watched basketball game of all time. Las Vegas Aces wouldn't respond. WNBA wouldn't respond because they know they'd get cooked. They know their team would get worked. That's not an insult to women. It's simply demonstrating the difference between a talented woman playing basketball and a talented boy playing basketball, high school. That is beyond a shadow of a doubt. Gavin Newsom played basketball and baseball in high school. I thought that he was on a baseball. I thought he played baseball in college. Maybe that's not true. Adam says it's not true. I thought he played baseball somewhere in college. My point is, he played high school sports. Every single man in America that played on a high school sports team knows that men have no business being in women's athletics. I don't think there's a single dude who's being honest that played high school or college athletics, certainly pros, that actually believes what Hakeem Jeffries argued and what the entire Democrat Party argued this week when they voted against a bill that would simply say women's sports should only be played by women. All right. Other stories that are out there. NCAA tournament seeding. New results after Tuesday, Wednesday. Florida, in my opinion, now clearly on the one seed line after they went on the road, got a big win at Alabama, and after Tennessee went on the road and choked down the stretch against Ole Miss. So I would think my 4 right now, as we get ready for next week's conference tournaments. We got one more day of action in regular season Saturday. My 4 would be number 1 seed overall, still Auburn, even after the Texas A&M loss. My number 2 would be, to me, I would go with Duke. 3, I actually would bump Florida based on the strength of the SEC and that win on the road against Alabama, which I think is one of the best wins of the years when you look at resumes. I'd actually have the Florida Gators as my number 3 overall 1 seed, and I would have Houston as my 4. So my 4th number 1 seed would be Houston. I would have Tennessee on the outside looking in as the 5th overall seed. That's the first 2 seed. And then I think I would have Bama at 6 as the 2nd overall number 2 seed. That's how I would break down the top 6 teams right now as we come down the stretch run. Looks like, and Adam, you can correct me if I'm wrong, by far the best in terms of overall talent conference basketball tournament this year is going to be the SEC, which is the top conference for basketball this year. I think it's highly likely that the 4 teams that get the double bye are going to be Auburn, who's already clinched the 1, Florida, who has already clinched the 2. I think Tennessee, when they beat South Carolina on Saturday, will be the 3, presuming that Alabama loses against Auburn, which I think will happen on Saturday in Auburn. Alabama will be the 4. That's my prediction. I think it's highly likely that that's the way the tournament bracket is going to be set. Those are going to be your 4 teams that get double byes. Texas A&M, big win over Auburn. Missouri, right there on the periphery as your 5 and 6 would be my guess. Kind of looking forward as we get ready for the NCAA tournament. I said I'm not going to be back till the 17th on this show. We, I think, are going to do a fade analyzing the NCAA tournament with Kelly Stewart on the Wednesday before the opening Thursday, Friday of the tournament. So just so you're all aware, if you want last-minute advice on how to bet or how to pick your bracket, Kelly and I will be diving into the brackets on the Wednesday before the NCAA tournament goes live. Couple of other stories that are out there. Hunter, I saw this. I couldn't stop laughing. Hunter Biden in a court filing says that he is no longer able to get his paintings sold. So Hunter Biden's finger paintings have lost a massive amount of their overall value. And I do think this is very funny. This is according to Politico. In a court filing yesterday, Hunter says he has struggled to sell his paintings in recent months, selling only 1 in the past 14 months, compared with 27 in the prior 2 or 3 years. He said he has significant debts. Also, no one is buying copies of his book, which sold only 4,200 copies in the past year. Who would even buy Hunter Biden's book? What a weird thing to buy in addition to his art. Like, who cares? Here is the quote. Given the positive feedback and reviews of my artwork and memoir, I was expecting to obtain paid speaking engagements and paid appearances, but that has not happened, Hunter Biden wrote. Yeah, nobody cares about you, Hunter. Nobody. You're a crackhead. Your dad was president, and people lied to you and said you're a really good painter and you wrote a good book. Those were lies, Hunter. You're in your 50s. No one cares about you. In the larger arena, the only reason you made money at all was because they were using you to try to leverage your dad. Does Hunter Biden really think that people wanted to read his book or buy his artwork? Is this guy so delusional that he really bought into the idea that people liked his finger paintings? They were paying you for access to your daddy, you insignificant twat. Do you not understand that, Hunter? You're a crackhead moron. Nobody had any interest in you. They were playing you. Do you think you're an energy expert? Do you think Burisma put you on the board in Ukraine because they thought you were somehow an energy policy genius? No. People gave you tens of millions of dollars to buy off your daddy. That's the result. I know nobody wanted to talk about it at the New York Times or the Washington Post. And I know critics said, oh, he shows a great deal of talent. No, they're all lying to you. Everybody's currying favor with your dad. And now that he's out of office and he's got dementia, nobody cares about you. Nobody's going to pay you to do anything. Nobody's going to pay you for speaking engagements. They were paying you because of your daddy. Hard truths. Elizabeth Warren. Did you see this? This moron Reuters reporter said that calling Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas was a racial slur. And I want to find this again because it's so moronic. Look, Reuters reporter. Elizabeth Warren lied about being a Native American in order to make her career possible as a law professor. She actually lied. Making fun of her lie isn't racist. But I want to tee off on this woman. Nandita Bose wrote, Pocahontas, first racial slur in a joint address. And Nandita Bose is the White House correspondent for Reuters. She says facts, not opinions, in her profile. Northwestern grad. Well, calling Pocahontas a racial slur is an opinion, and it is one that is horribly misguided. And let me take it outside of Elizabeth Warren lying about being Native American and using being Native American as an opportunity to get hired as a minority woman all the way up to Harvard, all of which was a lie. She cited her cheekbones as evidence she was Native American, shared a DNA test that showed she was 1,024th Native American. That's less Native American than the average white person in America today, okay? Let me take it outside of Elizabeth Warren. Do you remember Rachel Dolezal, the woman from Spokane, Washington, who claimed that she was black and headed up the NAACP there? And then it later was determined that she was actually just a white person and she was just pretending to be black. It wouldn't be a racial insult for me to call Rachel Dolezal Harriet Tubman. It would be a joke mocking the fact that she is not actually a black woman, and therefore I'm ridiculing that by comparing her to a famous black woman. So if I called Rachel Dolezal Harriet Tubman, that isn't a racial insult. It is a mockery of Rachel Dolezal because she claimed to be something, a minority, that she was not. I can't believe I have to explain the humor here, but Trump isn't ridiculing Native Americans. He's ridiculing Elizabeth Warren for claiming to be Native American by calling her Pocahontas. There you go. I'm not even the White House correspondent for Reuters, but I can explain why this is, in fact, a joke and in no way a racial slur. Okay, as I go out on spring break, let me just hit you with another hard truth. In my always humble opinion, all musicals suck. I'm sorry. Every single musical, every time people start to sing, it takes me out of the entire play. I'm willing to watch the parts where they act. Every musical sucks. Whether it's Hamilton, whether it's Les Mis, whether it is Phantom of the Opera, all of them would be better if no one sang. And I'm sorry if Tim Walz loves musicals. I'm sorry for all of you out there with horrible taste. I'm not going to apologize on this. I'm not going to step back. All musicals are awful. Just act. Shakespeare had it right. By and large, am I correct, Adam? No one ever sings in a Shakespeare play. Greatest playwright in the history of the world didn't need to have anybody sing in his plays. I think I'm correct in that. I'm not a Shakespearean scholar, but I have read, I believe, every primary popular Shakespeare play. I've seen many of them in person. At no point, in my opinion, did Shakespeare need to have people sing. Now, there might be scenes where people are drunk and they're singing along, or there is some sort of play within a play where someone might sing. I think it was Macbeth. There's a play within a play, right? No one needs to sing. Lots of men out there overwhelmingly agree with me. The only reason you go to musicals is so your wife or your girlfriend might sleep with you after. I'm sorry I'm putting you on blast over this. This is true. I don't think there is music and singing. By and large, if I'm wrong on this, I need more specificity. I do not remember. There is music and singing, but not as a musical. I don't have a problem if you're watching a movie and there's a concert scene, or you're watching a play and there is singing because people are drunk at the bar and everybody's singing like some ode at the bar. That doesn't happen very often in Shakespeare. That's okay, though. I'm talking about the entire play is like West Side Story. It's like, hey, these gangs are going to fight, but first they have to do a musical ensemble dancing against each other before somebody pulls out a knife and they try to stab each other. It's awful. They're all awful. They're all overrated. People are afraid to say it. I even defended Hamilton a little bit because at least there's historic elements in it, but even that play sucks. I will, however, admit that I would love to see a country western version of the Obama administration with a white guy playing Barack Obama and a white woman playing Michelle Obama. It would actually be heroic because you see race doesn't matter at all. That would actually make it far better. All right. I love all of you. I might get lit up by Shakespearean scholars. Probably not what you were expecting. I'm currently enmeshed in a huge fight with all of you musical dorks out there. As the greatest flute player of all time, remember, I'm not anti-music. I'm just anti-music on a stage when it's a play. I love all of you. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. This has been OutKick the Show. I will see you guys on March the 17th.